When selecting an archive to save your studies under, make sure that you select AR credentialing studies. Do not select any of the other folders. I know some of us who have been through this process before, we use different folders. This time around, we're using the AR credentialing studies. Make sure to not save it to any other folder, or it will not be reviewed. After you have your preset, hit the video camera button to record a clip. When you click the Actions button on the bottom right, you're able to create labels. Some of the labels, depending on the preset that you're in, will be pre-generated. So in the lung preset, you'll have left and right. In the other presets that you're going to see later, you'll see other examples of pre-labeled selections to make labeling faster and easier. Notice when we go into the cardiac preset that now we have other labels available to us. So the PLAX is a pre-generated label specific to the cardiac preset. When observing the IVC, remember we don't have to actually get any measurements. We just need to get a recording of a couple of inspiration cycles to see if it's collapsing greater than or less than 50%. So here we're getting a view of the right upper quadrant. You can see that hyperechoic line to the left of the liver is actually the diaphragm. Make sure whenever you're getting these images to fan through all the structures and get to that caudal tip of the liver. For the left upper quadrant, we're going to start by looking above the diaphragm, in between the diaphragm and the spleen for any fluid collection there. Moving on in between the spleen and the kidney, assessing for any hypoechoic pockets which might be fluid. And then finally, getting our suprapubic view, looking behind the bladder and the posterior cul-de-sac, looking for any fluid collections. To assess the aorta, we need to measure it in 3 different spots. In order to do that, obtain your view of the aorta, hit the snowflake button to freeze the image, and then hit the Actions button. Underneath Measurements, you'll see a tool that says Line. Click that button and then use the blue circles to adjust the line. Hit the camera button to save your measurement for review. When you're done, just hit Exit Protocol and confirm. Once you've obtained all your images, now you're ready to submit the study. So fill in all the information here as prompted. On real patient studies, the patient ID is going to be the flight number. By exam type, click the Add button to select which kind of study you are doing. And then you are going to add your worksheet. So pick which kind of exam study you did, and then you're going to go through and answer some questions basically about what you found in your study. During the QA process, whoever's credentialing the study is going to be able to look at this and see if you truly did have true positives or true negatives that you identified in your original study. There's also a section to add notes if you have anything to add, any difficulties that you had, or any questions that you might have for the QAer. Now before you fire off your study, make sure to label your landmarks in all of your studies. So you're going to go through one by one and label all the major landmarks that we were looking for. In the right and left upper quadrants, it's kind of difficult sometimes to label the structures because we're moving the probe and fanning throughout the image. Just do your best that you can and put the label generally where the structure is. We'll get the idea. When it comes to labeling your suprapubic images, don't worry about labeling the bladder. Just label if you see any fluid that's outside of the bladder. Here I'm just checking my other images, making sure that I'm happy with them before I send off my study. After you've reviewed your images, your labeling, and your worksheets, go ahead and sign the study. Make sure that you don't just save it as a draft or it won't be able to be reviewed. Now I'm going to show you an example of what it looks like on the back side of things for the person who is actually credentialing the studies. So this is an example here of one study that Dr. Morschetti did, so I'm just going to click on that. So again, this is the CQIer's point of view. So on the left-hand side, we see the images from the study. In the middle is the worksheet that the person who obtained the images have filled out. And on the right-hand side is where the person does the QA reviews. Also keep in mind, unlike the CQI that we do for our image trend charts, there's no need to complete any kind of CQI feedback loop. So you know how in CQI, someone will CQI the chart and then you have to respond in the comments. Here, you do not have to respond with anything. Basically, you're just going to look at the feedback and then apply it to the next exam that you have to do. So no need to respond to anything here. So quickly, I'm going to go through each of the metrics on the Butterfly Standard QA portion. So under image quality, you see it's from 1 to 5. I'm going to click on each one so you can see what these are graded by. 1, no recognizable structures. 2, minimally recognized structures but insufficient for diagnosis. 3, minimal criteria met for diagnosis, recognizable structures but with some technical or other flaws. 4, minimal criteria met for diagnosis, all structures imaged well and diagnosis easily supported. And 5, minimal criteria met for diagnosis, all structures with excellent image quality and diagnosis completely supported. Image interpretation accuracy, so TP stands for true positive, TN stands for true negative, FP stands for false positive, and FN stands for false negative. There's a feedback area here to where we can provide feedback if you need to adjust your gain or your depth or any of the areas that you see here, and also we can add feedback in this comment box. And then at the very bottom, there's a proficiency section of whether it can be counted towards the POCUS proficiency dashboard. So it's either a yes or a no. So if your image is good enough to where we can count it towards proficiency, we'll select yes. And if there's a no, then it will not count towards proficiency. Because this is how we are going to keep track of who has enough studies to be credentialed. Remember, we need 10 fast exams and 10 rush exams. Once your study has been QA'd, you'll get an email saying that it's been reviewed. If you scroll down here, you can see a general overview of the feedback that was given to you. If you click the Access Study button, it will take you back to Butterfly so you can review the specific scan that is being talked about. Otherwise, you can just review this and put that feedback towards your next study. So if you're anything like me, I always like to know the why behind what we're doing and basically how things work. So this is our proficiency dashboard that the people who are completing CQIs are going to look at and keep track of how far along are we in the credentialing process based on the person. So you can see, we can see progress for EFAST and rush exams. It gives you a little percentage by the person's name. By the percentage, you see the column that says counts towards proficiency. That's going to be how we keep track of who has what exams done. We'll show you total finalized exams and also the total exams needing QA. This is why it's important that you label your exams on their type, because this is how we keep track of how many EFAST and rush exams you have completed. So that's just the why behind what we're doing here.